Caroline here, and I am working my way through the January Best of Both Worlds kit still. I'm a little bit behind. I know we're into February, and Shamel and everybody that follows along are already working with the February kit, but I wanted to get the January kit completely worked through. I wanted to follow her prompts and get all of that done before I move on to the February kit. So today is the prompt of using little stamps, but I've got a little problem because I didn't buy the stamp kit with, the stamp set with this kit, so I don't have little stamps to work with. But as part of her page for this challenge, Shamel worked with a landscape and a portrait 6x4 photo. Now, I haven't worked with that photo configuration for years, and it is a configuration that I have always struggled with. So I think that that configuration alone, plus the fact that I know I've only got one whole piece of background paper left, is enough of a challenge. So that is the challenge I am setting for myself today. I am going to work with that photo configuration to tell the story of my old cat. She recently had a health scare, but she came through it, which is fantastic. And then this old photo popped up on my photo memories of 12 years ago. She's actually 19, so I thought it'd be lovely to scrapbook a now and then photo of her, just to show how she's aged and to talk a little bit about her personality and how that hasn't changed a bit in all of these years. Okay, so I will put you on fast forward and go through the papers to try and work out what I'm going to do with the background, and then take it from there.
So I'm looking through these papers now. I only have one full sheet of 12x12. It's what I'm calling my kryptonite paper. It's the one with the green circles on the one side and the scissors on the other. I love the tone of the scissor side, the ink splotches, but the motif of scissors is just a real challenge to try and find anything to tell that story where it fits. Couldn't make it work with these photos of Safi at all, so I'm just going to set that one to one side. I have the majority of the pink paper from the Cocoa Vanilla collection that I swapped in partway through the month when Shamel added in a wood grain to her kit, and I like that with this craft polka dot, but there's still not quite enough for a full sheet of 12x12. So I've got that green, that green sheet underneath at the moment, just to see how much of a more paper I need to add to get to a full sheet of 12x12. And I'm just going through all of my offcuts at this point to see which ones I like the look of. I really do like that border strip of the rainbow. I think that would have worked well, but then I found the wood grain that I originally used with this pink polka dot, and I really like that. So in the end, I'm going to actually go with that and the polka dot. I'm going to kind of layer them up as a tier effect. I keep looking at the back side of this craft polka dot because I know I wanted to use some of those cut apart. So I'm only going to tear off just a very small section. It's just over 1 inch wide. That's all I really needed, because that was just the gap that was there. And then I've still got the cut parts on the other side for another couple of stories. Originally, when I tore this sheet, I used the other side of the pink sheet. So I love it when I have my paper tears. I like the white of the paper, the core of the paper, to show on the side that's facing outwards. So I just had to adjust that tear on the pink sheet there to have that white inner core showing out. I'm adhering those strips to a piece of cardstock that I'm not going to use. It's a colour that I wouldn't use. It came many years ago in a kit, so I've just got a big stash of colours that I don't use, that I tend to use for pages like this where I'm adding pieces together to create a 12x12 background. Now the challenge starts with the 6x4 photos. Even though I'm scrapbooking photos of my cat, I want to make sure that her eyes are facing in, if at all possible, rather than her looking off the page. So that's why I'm going to go with the configuration that I do, with the vertical photograph on the right hand side. So next is I'm just going to go through all of the pieces that I've got in my kit box to see what might complement the story, what might complement the colours in the story. I know I'm going to need somewhere to add my journaling, so I've set 2 potential journaling cards aside. As I said, I really like that rainbow border strip that was on the green paper. I actually kept that cut up, the other part of that, so I'm going to keep that on my possible pile and just start working from there. I know the configuration that I want for my photos. I know that I want them basically on that pink sheet on the bottom half of the paper, but other than that I have no idea where I'm going with this layout. I've already deviated completely from the sketch that Shamel put on as part of this challenge, so I am just going with it now. I'm just building things for myself and seeing where it takes me. You'll see at the top here I've got 3 journaling cards as options and 2 sentiment cards. I'm going to pull in that here and now card because I absolutely love it as a sentiment, particularly for these 2 stories, for these 2 photos, with that old one on the left hand side and the more recent one on the right. So I'm telling the story of how different she looks and yet how she is so the same, and I think that that sentiment is just perfect. Just going to trim the edges off of that, and in a short while I will rough the edges of it too. As I've got that paper tearing already going on, I want to make sure that anything that I add in, or certainly the big pieces, have got a little bit of texture to the edges of them. I think it looks good nestled in there since I've got the edges of those paper tears lifting up. I want to make a feature of that. Not very happy with that little bit of what I call white space on the pink. I love the here and now tucked inside the pink layer, but I'm not very happy with the fact that that there's a bit of a gap. So I will sort that out a little bit later on. Now that I've got that 3x4 here and now, and I've just popped that other journaling card up there, I'm happy with the idea of a kind of right angle design. So building up above the vertical photo and then out to the left of the horizontal photo. So that's the structure of the page design that I'm going to go for. So a kind of L or a right angle. Using my distress tool to distress those edges now, and I'm not going to lie, I do struggle with the placement of things. I fiddle around with them far more than is necessary, but I think this was a really good challenge for myself to work with 6x4 photos again, and particularly in this photo configuration with 1 horizontal and 1 vertical. It's really quite a difficult configuration to work with. It really is, because you just end up with what feels like trapped space, or certainly I do. To my style of scrapbooking, you end up with things feeling not quite balanced, and so I do struggle, and I go through a stage where I reach the epiphany that more is definitely more, so I just keep throwing more at this page design, more embellishments, more labelling layers and labels to fill in the gaps and add to the story with the sentiments that are in there. And in the end, I'm really happy with the outcome. I'm really happy with the finished project, but I'm not going to lie, it does take me, I do struggle. I struggle before I get there. So part of my process when I am struggling is I like to place items, but before I put any adhesive on them to see if I like them there. So that's what I'm going to do with that rainbow border strip. I normally do that with my stickers as well, because I'll just kind of place them somewhere and very just lightly tack just a small element, a small area of the sticker. But one thing I would say about these Simple Stories sticker books is the adhesive is very strong. It really grabs. So once it's down, you can get it up without tearing. Sometimes it tears, so it's not really repositional. So if you want to move these stickers around, if that is your style, if you like to test things out, definitely cut into the sticker book. So cut around the sticker so that you leave the backing on. Don't make the mistake that I've made by sticking things down thinking that you stuck them down lightly, because they just grab and then you struggle to get them up, and you can end up with a few tears like I do a little bit later on. So now that I am committing to finally putting that border strip along the bottom, I'm just going through the sticker book backwards and forwards, finding things that I like, icons I like, colours that match this colour scheme, so that lighter pink, that's more saturated pink, bits of the craft, really just looking for things that are going to match. I've added in that hint of the darker teal with that label up there under the here and now sticker and the label sticker, and so I will bring in that shape, so that label sticker shape, but bring in that more saturated pink from up at the top. I like to try to balance my colours wherever I possibly can on a layout. Ideally I like to have the same colour repeat 3 times for that visual triangle, but if not 3 times, certainly twice. 3 is the magic number. It helps the brain to take in that colour and for everything to feel cohesive, but 2 is definitely better than 1 when you're working with different colours, so that if I just had that one label sticker, for example, in that dark teal, it would be quite jarring. So I know in my mind that I've got to find something, even if it's just a little word phrase sticker or a heart embellishment, something with that colour, just to balance the mind so that your eye doesn't just draw to it. If you wanted your eye to draw to it because it was a focal element, that's perfect. Then use just one of that colour because your eye will be drawn to it. I'm adding some extra adhesive now because I've only actually tacked those photos down just to make sure that everything is nice and secure. And now that I have that rainbow border strip as the kind of grounding point at the bottom of my photos, I want to go ahead and have that motif in 2 other places. So I've got that visual triangle. Luckily I've got that other strip, so I'm just going to snip off a little bit of that and then add a piece up above the here and now, and then one over on the right hand side, just so I've got that nice triangle of rainbows. You'll see over on the right hand side of my cutting mat I've got those circular embellishments. Those are from the Pink Fresh paper that I used earlier on in January. I punched them out as part of the circle challenge. There were 3 left that I didn't actually get to use in that project, and the sentiments in the center of the circles matched really well with the story that I wanted to tell. And I like adding in those circles as shapes because everything was very boxy, even though I've softened things with the paper tears a little bit. They're not just lines there of paper. I've got lots of boxes, square rectangular photos, rectangular journaling cards, even the border strip with the soft rainbows on it are rectangular, lots of kind of edges and corners. So I felt that adding in the circle element as an embellishment just helped to soften that, and I decided to put them on a diagonal so that I've got 3 distinct areas of embellishment that help to draw the eye from one piece of journaling, so from that journaling that will be on that card up on the top right, to another piece of journaling which will be on that smaller journaling sticker on the bottom left. Once I've got this down, and I've actually just popped a little pop dot up on the top of that circle because of the layers and the texture that I've got with the paper tear. I wanted to keep that depth going, so I've got the bottom half of that circle stuck down with some adhesive and the top half popped up. It's just going to be a case of going backwards and forwards through the sticker book, looking for more elements with colours that match. This is where I'm going to bring in that label sticker that brings in that more saturated pink down to the bottom left, and I'm just going to be moving through this sticker book, adding something that either helps with the motif or it helps with the story, fills in a little gap, anything like that. There's lots and lots of product in these sticker books. I don't normally buy sticker books. I normally have a lot of stickers left over if I do, and I'm going to this time, even though I'm using a lot. I know that at the end of this kit this book will be partially used, but there's going to be a lot left. So whereas once upon a time I would have been really quite conservative with my choices, I'd have added just a few stickers in, I've decided I've purchased it, I own it, I might as well get it onto my pages. So that's why I'm really adding more than I used to add to my pages, more embellishments, more words, but I'm liking what's coming out of it. I'm liking the finished products, I'm liking the way the stickers and the sentiments are adding to my stories. So I think it's a real lesson to me, and it's kind of reaffirmed the decision that I wanted to make, which is to use my stash this year. So if I buy something new, I want to use it. I don't want to buy something as part of this process, part of this Best of Both Worlds kit and then not use it. I don't want it to go into my stash, into a basket, and then me find it in 3 years' time. I want to use it now, this month where possible, and if it goes into my stash, certainly use it throughout the coming months as I work with these kits. If you've been following my videos at all, you know when I start to add the smaller sticker, it means I'm getting to the end of my process. And I can't remember whether you actually see this on camera, but I have a sudden moment where I realise I've forgotten my title. I've got that lovely Here and Now card, but that was not the intention, that was not my intended title. I had intended quite a big title on this page, and although I've got that space under the photo, I really don't want it there because I've got that border strip as a grounding element. So I'm going to have to improvise, change my plan, and just add in some alphas onto these photos. I don't mind adding alphas or stickers onto photos. I've got certainly not these days when you've got digital versions of lots and lots of photos. So I'm going to add a then onto the old photo and a now onto the current photo, and I think it works well. It's not the title that I wanted. I wouldn't generally choose to split a title, but because I've got that Here and Now right in the center of the layout anyway, it kind of works as a subtitle title difference between the then and the now. I end up putting the and in the center. I'm going to sit with that, see how it feels, see what it looks like when I've kind of flipped through the page in my album. I might switch that out and either use a larger and between those two photos or just move the and up to the now. At the moment, as I'm looking at it on the video, I don't like it, but it's not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't, I love the page, and it's important for me to have these photos of my little old cat in my album this year. The final thing to do are add in a few puffy heart stickers into those embellishment clusters.
Okay, so that is this layout complete minus my journaling. It was a struggle in the end, especially when I realised that I've forgotten my title. So my plan is to put the journaling here and here. I'm going to date stamp on this little journaling spot with the date of this photo, and date stamp on this little journaling spot with the date of this photo, but the journaling will just be about the story. I was still tempted to build some kind of cluster to add some additional journaling in here because I do like to work in those areas of 3, but I've got the 3 with that circle instead. So this has not gone in the direction that I expected it to go in my mind. I like the layout. It's different for me, but I think that's good. That's the point of challenging myself with this kit, getting back into that 12 by 12 format, trying new things, different styles, just being creative and having fun. That is the main thing for me. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you soon. Bye.